Okay, guys, so finally I'm making a new video because I finished the indexing strategy feature for CodeSmash. That means you are now able to create your REST APIs, and you can also define indexes for the database that also comes standard with the REST API. And as you know, I've mentioned that's the DynamoDB database. So today I'm going to talk about how you can actually query the DynamoDB database, how this can actually be useful to you and how you can use the indexing strategy to, optimally query the data that you need. So let's first take a look at the deploy app part. Yeah, so here, if you want to deploy the REST API, you can just go here and click on the REST API, and now you can see that you have this new DynamoDB integration part right here. So here you can add the columns that you want to have in the database, and the indexes that you want to have in the database, because these indexes actually help you query the data, like the specific subsets of data. So in this case, you can actually query based on a specific column. So you can note here that actually DynamoDB is actually quite a flexible database. So you don't need to specify all the columns that you intend to use. You only specify the ones that you want to use for indexing purposes, and as you're using your database, you can just add any data to any column that you want. You can dynamically add new columns simply by adding data, but the indexes need to be created upfront. Of course, you can later on modify these indexes and update the database, but upfront you do need to have some columns. So these two, this is going to be the partition key and the sort key. So these are like your, primary keys in a relational database. So we can just leave these to be like this column is the partition key and the sort. And the sort key is going to be this here, SK, which is fine. We don't have to change this. And if we want to add something, we just click add column, right? We click here to change the name. So we can call it my column and select the type of the column that we want. And note that it's not going to actually let you deploy this REST API unless there are no errors here. So every time you see something that's wrong, you can just see what it is. And for example, here we need to add a new index for this to be a valid definition. So let's just remove this. When you define an index, you can basically define how this index needs to be composed. So for example, on your table, like the whole table, you've got your like primary keys that like I said previously is going to be the partition key and the sort key. But you can define, the point of the indexes is that you can define the partition key and the sort key on some other columns, and that's what the indexes are. So basically, if you go here, you just define which key you want to use for the partition key and for the sort key. So that's pretty much it. That's how it works. So let's give it a try. Oh, and the one thing that's actually the most important is in DynamoDB, you don't actually, like I said, you don't care about the columns that you have. But what you do have to care about, oh, and you don't also have to care about the schema. So this is a schemaless database. It basically grows however you want it to grow as you're adding data. But what you do have to think about is how you're going to query the data. That's why you need to understand the DynamoDB data modeling, which I'm going to go into right now. So once we understand how we want to query the data, then we're going to add the columns and we're going to add the indexes. And once they're added, we're then only going to deploy our REST API. So what are we going to do today? Let's take, for example, some movies, like the top 250 movies on IMDb. Let's take the top 10. And as you can see here, we've got, for example, the title, uh, the year when the movie came out, and also if you open it right here, you'll get the genre of the movie. So let's see. That should be, yeah, right here. This is a drama. Okay, but uh, actually, I've already taken this data and put it right here into a table. So you can clearly see that we have these 10 movies. We've got the title, so we need a column that's going to be called title. We need a column that's going to be called year, right? The year when the movie came out, and the genre of the movie. So once we've added all of that, let's just ask ourselves, how do we want to query this data? Well, that depends on your, business needs, what your application does. But just for, testing purposes, let's just quickly let's just quickly write down some, obvious examples. But obviously, the first thing you want to do is just, query all the movies, right? So all movies, right? You also probably want to do all movies by year. You also want to do all movies by genre. And if you want to go, one step deeper, you know, into the hierarchy, you can say all movies by genre and by year. In this case, we need to create, several columns that's gonna actually hold this data and several indexes that are going to support this querying strategy. So how will we go about this? Okay, let's see. So this is going to be our table design. So what do we need? What columns do we need? Obviously, we're working with movies, right? So we need a title. We need a column that's called year. That's going to be a number. And we need genre. Oh, and of course, we need type. Why do we need type? Because that's always going to be set to the value called movie. And if, let's say, we want to just query for, all the movies, how would we go about doing this? So all movies, let's go. So if we simply have a column called type, which we've defined here, we can just say movie, right? So if we query by movie, we're going to get all these movies if this here type column equals to, right, equals to movie. You have to understand that, in some cases, you're of course not only going to have movies, you're probably going to have the directors and the actors. So, if you add an actor, then the type is going to say, actor. And for the director, it's going to say director. That's why if you specify movie, when you're querying by a type column, then obviously you're going to get all the movies. But let's say that you want all movies based on a specific year. So in that case, we need to have a, two-level hierarchy. So that would be something like movie. Then we can add a hash. You can add, any character that's going to divide the hierarchy, but I prefer using hash and then just say year, right? And this is where you put the value of the year based on which you want to query. So for example, if you have something like, let's say, 1994, you would get all the movies which came out in 1994. In this case, it's only this one and this one. So you're going to get these two. What about getting all the movies by genre? I think that's obvious. You would just go like this, right? Movie. But in this case, you would say it's genre and you would say something like, I don't know, crime. Okay. And you just type crime here. And you would get these four movies back. So when you're inserting the data into the database, you always have to have these values somewhere. The question is, where do you put them? It's actually quite simple. You just have to know how many of these queries you're going to have. So let's do the last one, and then we're going to figure out where are we going to put this data. So all movies by genre and by year. So how do we do that? Again, so movie, genre, year, and like I said, here's where you put the genre, and here's where you put the year. So if the genre is, I don't know, crime, it's going to go here. And if it's this year, then if you query by this here value, it's just going to give you this here movie. If you had, more crime movies that came out in 1957, you will get all of those listed out. So the question is, where do we put all these values? Well, personally, I just do it like this. I just go, type 1, I go type. So basically, you just add the new columns. That's all. And type 3. So this one is going to. So we can do this. So this one is probably going to be, like I said, type. So this one is going to be type 1, and this one's going to be stored in type 2, and this one's going to be stored in type 3. Also note something else. It's not just about movies. Of course, you can put in the second level of hierarchy. Like I said, if you have directors, you'll be able to do something like director, right? So you can get all the directors who made movies in a specific genre that's crime, right? So that's also possible, and it's also going to be stored in the same column. So it just depends on what you want to query. But if you have a different level of the hierarchy, the more you want to drill down, the more specific you want to be with your queries, then you have to add the new columns. Okay, so now we understand how we want to query the data. There's also one more thing if you want to sort. That's why we call it the sort index. So we can create actually an index for all of these. And let's just go and see how that's going to work. So we have PK and SK. These are our columns that are going to be the partition and the sort key. We have the type, right? So that's okay. Let's just go and refresh just in case. Let's select the REST API. That's fine. So we have type. Let's just add what we said we were going to add. Type 1. That's going to be a string. This is going to be type 2, type 3, and what did we say? Oh, the title and the year. Okay, the title and the year. Okay, let's call this type 2. This is going to be type 3. And this is going to be title. And the last one's going to be year. But that's going to be a number. Oh, and like I said, since we are actually not going to be querying by title, we can just remove this one. Okay, so now the question is, how do we add indexes, right, to support this querying strategy? Obviously, like I said, all movies we just query by type. Do we have that? Yes, it's right here. So type index. I've decided to add, these columns and these indexes, by default. So if you just don't want to, if you don't care, if you just want to, deploy a REST API, just click, deploy when and these are the columns and indexes that you're going to have by default. The second one is movies by year. So our partition key is going to be, type, and we're also going to be querying by year, but in our case, we can just query by type 1. Okay, so if you go here, the only thing you have to do is rename it, right? So call it whatever you want, but make it, so that you know which columns are used. So just type 1 index, select type 1, and add another index. So which one do we need? Type 2 and type 3. So we'll just call this one type 2 index and take this as the partition key. When you don't provide the sort key, then basically you just get everything that's in this here column. If you do provide the sort key, you only get the rows that match both this column and this column. So we just want all of them. And of course, we need type 3 and call it just index. Let's just select type 3. And we also need the year. So let's just do it like this. This is, I'm just going to show you how you can actually query two different ways. So you don't actually need all these columns. For example, you can go type and year index. So there are two ways I'm going to demonstrate. Okay, where's the type? Oh, type and there you go, the year. So now we don't have any more errors. Let's call it like top IMDb movies. Call it top 10 IMDb movies. Or just let's just call it top IMDb movies, and let's deploy. So this is going to take a while, and while it's deploying, let's just wait, and yeah, let's continue once this is deployed. Okay, guys, so let's have a look at our API. It's right here. So there you go. You can clearly see that it's deployed successfully, and all our indexes are right here. So that's fine, right? Let's just go to the API builder now to demonstrate how we can query the data. But first, of course, we're going to be inserting the data. There's nothing in the database right now, so let's start by inserting the data. Okay. Like I said previously, if you remember, you don't have to provide the PK and SK, and it's going to be added for you automatically. But when you're going to be adding it, from your API, from your application, then it's best to provide something. Let's see, where are we? Okay, what's the first movie? Okay, it's this, The Shawshank Redemption, isn't it? Okay. What are we going to call them? So, title, right? So The Shawshank Redemption. What were the columns? Oh, it was the year. Year is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, 1994. Okay, and let's see. The genre is going to be drama. Type, now comes the most important part, right? So type is obviously just movie. And what was the type 1? Oh, okay, it's just movie year and then 1994, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be type 1. For what else? Type 2, right? So this is crime. No, it's a drama. So we'll take the drama. Okay, so just copy all of this. It's much easier. So type 2 movie. Drama. And what's type 3? Okay, movie genre and year. Okay. Let's do this as well. So type 3. Just take this and then let's change it. Type 3 is going to be this here. Movie genre year. What did we say? It's actually 1994 and it's a drama. And let's just quickly insert this. Okay, guys, you can clearly see that the data is here, and I'm not going to be adding all the data right now. I'm going to add it, and once it's done, we'll continue the video. So guys, now we come to the most important part, and that's actually querying the data. As you can see, I've added all the movies right here, and we're going to start querying them right now. So let's just do the most, the simplest one, and that's just querying all the movies. Like we said, this is our first query, and it's by the type column. So that's going to be very simple. We'll take the type index, right? And let's just start. So type is going to be movie, right? And we're going to put it into the movies variable. And as you can see, we get back all the movies. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is all movies by year. So this is the pattern that we're going to be querying, and the column that we're going to be querying is type 1. So let's add a new query function. Let's just copy this over, change it to type 1. And now we have to select the type 1 index, which is going to be querying the type 1 column. And we're just going to say here movies by year. That's going to be our output variable. And let's take this pattern, right? We're just going to paste it here and start querying. Okay, let's see. And at the bottom, as you can clearly see, we got the movies that came out in 1994. So this one is working as well. The third one is going to be querying column type 2. So that's going to be all movies by genre. So let's try that. So we can now add another one. We can minimize these so that they are not in the way and also skip them. Let's just take it from here, much easier. So that's going to be type 2. What's the pattern? The pattern is going to be this. So movie, genre, and then, whatever you want to query for. And don't forget to change this to type 2. And this is going to be movies by genre. This is fine. So we are now querying for all the movies which are actually crime movies. So let's just query for this. And you can clearly see that we got all the movies that are using, you can clearly see genre is crime, right? So all these years and all the crime movies. So the last one is going to be the type 3 column, which is actually going to query for both the genre and the year. So let's try to do that. So just query items. Let's take this and just say it's going to be type 3. And we can take this here. I think we only have one movie that actually fits this pattern. So we're just going to skip this one and minimize it. Year, year and genre, and we can just execute this. Oh, like I said, don't forget to change the index, otherwise it's not going to work. And there you go. Like I said, we only have one movie, but it returns the correct one. And the last thing that I want to demonstrate is actually that special index that I've added. Let's go here. Query items. Here's the thing. We're going to skip this one as well, but we're just going to take this and movies by year. Again, let's call it movies by year sorted. So in this case, we're going to use this special index called type year index, where we provide actually two values for both the type and the year column. So in the type, as you know, we have the value that's movie because we're querying for all movies. But if we provide the other value, so instead of just getting all the movies, we're going to get all the movies for a specific year. Let's say 1994, right? So if we just execute this, we get the two movies, just like with the previous query where we had to use, two columns. But this one, we just use this here simple index. But here's the thing, you can do something else with this approach. If you actually remove the other one, the sort index, and execute this, what you're actually getting is all the movies because you've specified type equals movie, right? So you're getting all the movies, but the thing is, it's actually sorted. That's why it's called the sort key, which means now you go from the oldest movie to the newest one. So that's something that you can use as well. And that's pretty much it for this video. Make sure you try this out and let me know what you think. I've already started working on the last part, and once that's done, the API builder is going to be, completely finished, and you will be able to use it in your, regular applications like regular web applications or bubble applications, whatever you're using. So you can also view the features that I'm building. So this is currently in progress, right? Oh, the indexing strategy you can see here. It's done, and the business logic is what I'm working on right now. So basically, all these queries here, this needs to be stored into the repository, and once that's done, you will be able to load them, and that's going to be it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.